All right, good morning and welcome, everybody. This is the next segment of our program today for IGTV. And let me turn the full screen on here because you can see Tony behind my back here. But there you go. Let's bring him in full screen. All right, there you go, Tone. So you're going to come onto the program today, and you're going to be talking about video analytics. And the areas that you're going to be hitting is what? This intelligent video isn't just for security. Surprise, surprise.
Well, I like your introduction earlier on. We were talking about retail and things like that.
Sure.
Um, One of the things that we've kind of caught on to last couple of years, we've had more facilities type customers coming online.
Uh huh.
Uh, they're using analytics. There was, as you know, there's several different grants available for public utilities, wastewater treatment facilities, some electrical or power generation type related grants that are available as well. So the initial interest from the public sector was obviously physical security. What we also saw, though, in the industrial setting was companies using our analytics to kind of play into their plant operations, and that's quite interesting. When the product was developed, it was sort of developed more on a global basis, and that it contained something called OPC, which really isn't used often here in the United States or even in this hemisphere. It's used primarily over in Europe and in some Asia manufacturing facilities. And what OPC is it's just an Open Communications Protocol. That's what it stands for, really. And most SCADA or factory automation PLC systems have some sort of OPC output to them. And because it's not really used here in the United States, it's not something that I really focused on until the phone starts ringing, obviously, and people begin to talk to me about what they're using it for. So some interesting things came up. In the food and beverage industry, for example, there are some directives to obviously protect these facilities from people that would have harmful intentions of contaminating food and beverages and things like that. So you have your initial security type deployment, and then what happens is either plant engineer or the IT department starts to get familiar with the product, and they realize that we can use this internally. So they're using it for things that you might consider kind of interesting. They're using it as part of their factory automation process, so that if let's say a pallet of materials comes out, our analytics can detect that in real time, and then notify somebody or something within the system to do something else. And so I can't tell you, without breaking somebody's NDA, but if you could imagine like a factory situation where if there's a sensor, say like a temperature gauge or a pressure sensor, that wants to communicate or send some type of notification within their system, they can also send an alarm or notification or communication from their SCADA or factory automation system to the Aimetis system. And then from there, we can turn that camera to focus on a particular part of the factory. We can send an email or a JPEG image to the plant manager, all this being done in real time. So it's kind of interesting, and that led me to kind of dig into things a little bit deeper. We're across many different types of industrial settings, so whether it be wastewater treatment facilities, electrical power generation facilities, but pharmaceutical facilities, not only doing the perimeter protection, but also helping to augment some of their manufacturing process in real time. I'll give you an example there. We have a customer that has a big sill or big tank that gets foam in it. And when that foam rises above the line that we basically would draw in the analytics, it basically sends a command to open up a valve and it releases that foam. And it's a lot less expensive solution than rigging up some sort of very sophisticated. Not that our software is not sophisticated, but they're able to take it and plug it in and make it work within their current systems without having someone to write very specific code, bring in certain types of high imaging cameras and things that would just cost thousands and thousands of dollars are able to do with their current security system. Imagine that. Factory compliance is another area where you can use analytics. So, you've probably done a number of plant tours, I'm sure, and you've had to wear safety goggles, and you've probably had to walk within a boundary or conform to some sort of regulation. And what the analytics can do is notify or keep track of when certain compliance rules are broken or that they're being met or satisfied. So somebody that walks into an area that shouldn't be walking, or walking from one area to another area, pharmaceuticals are great for this. So they want to keep certain sides of the factory or the process sort of static, or prevent certain people from cross-contaminating certain areas. So if I come from one area and move into another area, that could be a compliance issue that the factory is trying to eliminate, and they want to be notified of those types of things. In a hospital setting, we're working with some hospital groups now that have different type of air sensors to sort of analyze the contaminants that are in the air that either construction workers or folks from the outside are bringing in. And when that sensor goes off, they want to be able to have an alarm set right to their BlackBerry device. I call it alarm, but it could be just an email. It could actually have an image, maybe of the construction folks coming in, and that's the issue. And it helps them become a better facility at the end of the day. So there's two types of things that we're really talking about here. There's active analytics, right? Things that we're looking for in real time to send notifications or alerts. That could be security violations. It could be compliance violations. It could be temperature or sensor type of notifications that we're receiving into the system. And then there's what I call passive analytics. In other words, gathering the data. How many times did somebody cross-contaminate this particular area? Or how many times are there people in a particular area of the facility, and should they be there? That type of data is good for operational efficiency, basically, to increase productivity and reduce risk and increase safety, and at the end of the day have a much better operations. And that's kind of it. That's just like a quick update on one little sector that seems to be gathering a lot of steam and headway from some curious folks. We've had quite a bit of activity, I would say starting maybe 3 years ago, but for some reason it picked up last summer. I want to say there were quite a few factories that were just either using our stuff for things that we normally wouldn't advertise it for, or were calling us for grant type of scenarios where they're food and drug safety, wastewater treatment facilities, electrical generation, power services, basically. So it's interesting if you think about the next time you talk about analytics, it's not necessarily security and retail that we think about, but also factory, plant, facility uses as well.
So if I was in a large type of environment, let's say for producing, let's bring it back to retail. How about a Target, a Walmart, or a Home Depot? All right, so I might want to know where certain sectors of my employees where they are, and I might be able to link the video analytics to our loading bays. All right, and if I all of a sudden find a person who's supposed to be on the bay, supposed to be managing it, or supposed to be supervising it, or just working in the trucks themselves, if I all of a sudden find him in the garden center, I might be able to get an alert for that. And if you did it once or twice, not a big deal, but if you did it 6 times, you say to yourself, well, who do I working in the garden center, and who's working on my bay? So
yeah.
you might be able to make some of those distinctions with employees, not just with products.
Yeah, and there's most companies understand that people don't want to be tracked all day long and things like that, and so there's a lot of respect for worker privacy.
Yeah.
But I do see a time in the future where RFID or some type of sensors will be synced up into our system, and we'll be able to kind of graphically display where traffic is, and that meaning employee traffic. That would help also in scenarios where maybe there's 3 or 4 people that are looking at carpets at our favorite Home Depot store or Lowe's store, and the system right now can't tell which one of those 3 people are actually store associates, or if there really is a store associate there. But in the future, there will be a chip or something that will identify a store associate. So let's say we have a same scenario where 3 people come in the store looking at carpet. They've been there for a prolonged period of time. We can automatically send a notification to have somebody go and assist the guest, if we will. That's in the future. Today, you can always get a quick hit in retail off the compliance in a couple ways. You can always get a quick hit if they've used like a third-party monitoring or guard service where they're supposed to pull up in the middle of the night and check door locks. If you think about it today, most people with just normal CCTV cameras, they can't tell you exactly when that person showed up to check the locks unless they review video from, say, midnight to 6 a.m. and who's got time to do that, right? Yeah. So with the analytics running, you can tell exactly when somebody pulled into that lot because you can just look at the timeline and see when it picked up vehicle traffic, and then click on the video that's associated to that particular time and see if they actually, and this is the kicker, actually got out of the vehicle to check the locks. Yeah. And a lot of time they don't. They just, maybe point a flashlight or whatever. And that's always a quick hit. The other quick hit is enforcing bag checks when the electronic article surveillance alarm goes off. So, we've been in those situations, right, where you walk out the store and, the alarm goes off. How many times have you been checked, though? Right? If you look back and smile, I'll guarantee you 9 times out of 10 they won't check your stuff. Once in a while you'll get a good, very persistent person, but a lot of times they don't. And so when a retailer configures, maybe they're just going to do a couple of stores and they're going to remotely make sure that this process is going on. We've had scenarios where the hit rates are north of 70% when they check the bags for stuff and receipts. Very interesting.
All right, so, Tony, I've got to cut you. I've got John Phelps coming in on the other end here from Access. So thanks. Good to see you, and congratulations on your little girl. Okay.
Hey, thank you very much.
All right. Take care now.
Here.